From a small, fog-bound island in the North Atlantic, a power rose to command the largest empire in human history. This is the story of its spectacular ascent and its inevitable fall.
It is the defining question of the modern age. How on earth did one small nation manage to project its power across every single continent and ocean, and in doing so, fundamentally reshape the destiny of billions?
So, where does a story like this even begin? Well, it doesn't start with strength. It starts with ambition, right on the edge of the known world, as we trace the unlikely origins of a global power.
You have to remember, while Spain and Portugal were busy carving up the new world between them, England was, well, a secondary power, pretty much looking on from the sidelines. It was not born a giant. It was forged in the fires of competition.
Three critical moments changed absolutely everything. First, a tentative claim in the New World. Then, a legendary naval victory in 1588 that shattered Spain's monopoly on the seas and announced England's arrival as a real contender. And finally, the creation of something the world had never seen before, a unique weapon of commerce and conquest all rolled into one, the East India Company. That single decision would alter the fate of an entire continent.
Now you have to understand, this empire wasn't built with a single strategy. It expanded using two vast, completely different engines, moving in parallel across the globe.
Over in the West, Britain built its first empire on settlement and raw materials. This was the Atlantic world, an empire fueled by the immense profits of sugar and tobacco, wealth built on the brutal, back-breaking institution of slavery. But in the East, it deployed a revolutionary new model, a private company that was handed the power of a state. This wasn't just about trading anymore. It was about rewriting the very rules of conquest.
I mean, just stop and think about what this meant. This was no ordinary business. The East India Company could raise its own armies. It could sign its own treaties. It could rule over millions of people. This was an engine of empire, accountable not to a parliament, not to a people, but only to its shareholders. For them, profit was the one true king.
And this single battle was the turning point. With the victory at Plassey, the company seized control of the unimaginable wealth of Bengal. Its mission pivoted right then and there, from trade to outright domination. The merchant had become the master.
But the price of this new corporate rule was staggering. The company's relentless drive for profit, combined with crippling taxes and forcing farmers to grow cash crops instead of food, led directly to the Great Bengal Famine. 10 million people, a full third of the population, starved to death. In this new empire of commerce, people were expendable. Profit was not. Evolution, it entered its golden age. This was the era of Pax Britannica, the British peace.
You've heard the phrase, the empire on which the sun never sets. Well, that wasn't just some poetic boast. It was a literal geographical fact. From the Caribbean to Canada, through Africa, India, all the way to Australia and Hong Kong, the British Empire spanned the globe so completely that daylight was a permanent feature.
So how did they maintain this grip on the world for so long? It really rested on four immense pillars. The Royal Navy, which turned the world's oceans into a British highway. New technologies like the railway and the telegraph, which bound the empire together with iron and electricity. An economic policy of free trade that made Britain the world's factory, and a financial system based on gold that made London the world's bank.
For an entire century, the empire seemed invincible, permanent, but the forces that would eventually tear it all apart were already gathering steam. And the 20th century would bring two world wars that would prove absolutely fatal. The decline wasn't one single event, but a cascade, a chain reaction. World War I bled its finances dry. That weakness, in turn, fueled powerful nationalist movements demanding freedom. World War II delivered the killing blow, shattering both its economy and the myth of its invincibility. And then came the loss of India. When the jewel in the crown finally gained independence in 1947, the economic and military foundation of the entire empire was gone. The end was no longer a question of if, but when.
If there was one single moment, one humiliating public spectacle that showed the world the game had changed, it was this. In 1956, at Suez, Britain was forced to stand down by the United States. The message couldn't have been clearer. A new power was calling the shots. The age of European empires was officially over. The empire may have vanished from the map, but its structures, its languages, its conflicts, they continue to shape the world we all live in today. The echoes are everywhere. You can see them in the legal systems of countries on every continent. You can hear them in the parliamentary debates in capital cities all around the world. It's there in the English language that dominates global business and science. And it even exists today in the Commonwealth, a voluntary group of nations that serves as a modern ghost of that old imperial network.
And here's the final twist. The fall of the empire didn't just change the world, it fundamentally remade Britain itself. Migration from its former colonies reshaped the nation, transforming it from an imperial center into the complex, multicultural society it is today. In the end, the empire came home.
The flags have been lowered. The troops have gone home. But when you look at our world's legal systems, its financial centers, its conflicts, and its common language, you are left with one final question. Has the empire truly fallen, or has it simply changed its form?